Good day, everyone. Rich Jacob here with Western New York Coaches. I have Coach Blair Lipsitz, our Managing Director, and today we welcome special guest Daisha Clark, our Director of Youth Initiatives at Community Foundation, and the Legacy Fund of the Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation. Welcome, Daisha, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Rich. I appreciate it.
It's good. And I, as we always do on our Chalk Talk, I have our leadoff hitter, Coach Blair Lipsitz, get us started in the conversation. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks. I always like to bunt, though, so I think I always hit second. I think that was usually my spot in the lineup.
Nice.
I think what we really want to start off with is this idea of strengthening community through sport, and that's something that's so huge with Project Play. And I just want to know if you can kind of help us and our coaches understand like what that means to you guys.
Well, that's interesting because that's actually our current tagline.
Hello.
So for several years, our focus was our original vision and mission that every kid deserves the experience of quality youth sports regardless of zip code. But over the past 3 years, we realized that what we really need to focus on is the why behind youth sports in order for people to really come on board with everything that we're trying to push.
Right.
And the why that we are continually saying at this point is youth sports creates the opportunity for healthier kids, happier families, and stronger communities. So you lean directly into what we do. But the idea is that creating quality youth sport experiences, it not only builds the individual, but it builds relationships that strengthen the community, like you were saying.
Right.
Unfortunately, that isn't always the case. And so my wonderful job every day when I come to work is figuring out how to make that happen more often and more regularly throughout Western New York.
And how do you feel like coaches can make that biggest impact? Because a lot of times coaches are parents. Coaches are somebody who maybe knows the game but doesn't really know the game. And that's how, I mean, we talk about this all the time. How can we help arm those coaches with some information, right? As much information as we can possibly give them. But how does Project Play, you know, when you look at a coach, what do you see? Somebody who's just starting out. It's their first year.
So I love seeing the new coaches.
Yeah.
And particularly, I mean, I have a bias as a woman. I
Right.
particularly love seeing new women coaches.
Yes.
But what I'm always encouraging is that the sports skill will come later. Especially when, no matter what age, when you're dealing with the younger ages, they can't tell whether or not you know the sport. And when you're dealing with the older ages, they already kind of know the sport.
Yeah.
They just need someone to coach/mentor them.
Yeah.
So really taking into consideration the life lessons that you've had, the idea that there's been a time in your life where you didn't know how to do something and you learned how to do it in order to be successful.
Right.
That's sports.
Yeah.
There's been a time in your life where you failed horribly at something and had to figure out how to do it better the next time. That's sports. There's been a time in your life where you had to get used to someone who you never knew before in order to get a project done. That's sports. So all of those life lessons, figure out how do you take these practices and take these games and use them as vehicles to teach a lesson that you wish that you knew ahead of time.
Yes. You're speaking our language. Truly. Because it is, we talk about this all the time, that so many of those life lessons, you say, building confidence. One of the first things that you do in sports is you're bad at something and then you get better at it. And it's the first thing out of school that happens. It's the first fun thing that you can do where you learn something new and get better at it after not being good at it, right? And so you're learning how to build confidence in the fun way. So it's got to stay fun.
It's got to stay fun. And it's such a great opportunity to, like you said, build confidence in areas that you thought was a weakness. If you have really big arms, you're like, I hate my arms. It never fits in shirts, but you might be the best shot putter in the area.
Right.
Or if you're the super lanky kid that always like bumps into things, guess what? There's a basketball coach that really wants you on their team. Like understanding the things that you think were like, oh man, I hate this.
Right.
Your body is awesome. And realizing how you are able to achieve goals with that, just understanding that. And then I can't even mention how much you learn from teamwork, whether it's a individual sport or a team sport. I played both, and in both aspects, you have to learn how to work with people, which is how you're successful in life.
Yes.
So if you don't
Which
figure that out,
sports did you
it's an
play?
issue. I was a track runner, cross country, basketball, and swim.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this perfectly goes into my next question about multi-sport athletes. Because this is something that was really important to me. I played softball, I played basketball, I ran track. I was most certainly not a runner in track, but I was the field events person.
Nothing's wrong with that. It's called track and field.
Exactly. I was the field. But I didn't start playing volleyball until college. And that became high school. And that became my sport in college. And so, I think, what did you guys have on here? 1.8 sports is the average per kid. Can we get that higher? I know that's good, right? That it's more than one. But I feel like kids need to learn a ton of different things. When we were recruiting at the Division I level, if somebody said they played 3 or 4 sports, we were like, yes. They know how to use their body in different ways. They know how to work with different types of people. They have done individual sports. They've done team sports. It's just, that's such a huge part of what we do as well, is like encourage young kids to play multiple sports. You have no idea when I was 8 years old, I didn't know I was going to be 6'5", right? Softball might not have been my sport
you were
with
only
my
6'1"
strike
then.
zone. I was only 6'1". And so you've got to try different things, and maybe you don't become an athlete at all, and that's also okay too. But I think multi-sport athletes are something we should all kind of strive to push.
Yeah, that's so many great things are being said here, right? Fostering the fun, the transferability of everything we learn in sport into life skills, even at the youngest age. I mean, we talk about parents who, give their time. We're so thankful, right, for the parent coaches out there in the little leagues, and places like the Community Foundation and the things that you do, Dacia. Incidentally, we thank you again publicly for the support on helping our initiative, again, parallel and certainly comparable, and we have many of the same goals as your organization. So we're so happy to be a partner with you during this time. So thank you again publicly.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate every single ally and champion we have throughout the community.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's who our parents are, right? They are our allies and our champions, and to have these resources that you bring and that we're trying to bring forward to help them understand a little more about the responsibility and the great task of being a coach. It's an honor. It is an honor to coach at any level. And it also takes a lot of time and energy. So having these resources accessible like you have done, you and your team have done, is so very helpful. And like you say, you're pushing that message and this idea of full participation and fostering cooperation at that level. You're right. The 3-4-year-old is there for social. It's there for physical. It's there and it's there to feel and to live how much fun it is to move. Even this idea of just let's move every day. And of course, at the national level, even at the international level, there are so many efforts as well. And we all are after the same goal, right? To help the young people find balance, help the young people find confidence. This idea of building confidence is so very interesting. And there are incremental steps that coaches and young people can make to, reflect on what they do and how that is improving and what that means to try your best, what that means to, again, foster this idea of maximum effort, as we call it. So it's really great. Can we talk a little bit, Dacia, about what you're seeing in this idea of, losing interest?
Yeah, the burnout.
Yeah.
A lot of it, one of the things you just mentioned was you started volleyball in high school. Mm-hmm. And so often we are finding youth who are selecting their sport before age 7. So the likelihood of burnout is so high because they don't have a chance to learn. They don't have a chance to explore and to try out things and hate a sport,
Right.
never want to come back to it,
Right.
and fall in love with another sport and realize this is my thing.
Right.
Like they don't have that opportunity. So oftentimes, especially at this point, youth sports has been kind of viewed as the ticket to the next level, and not viewed as a standalone experience that youth get to have.
Yeah.
The standalone opportunity they have to grow. It's how do you get to the next level? And unfortunately, coaches aren't able to just sit in the moment. They're always trying to find that athlete that's going to go to the next level. And they get it from all levels. They get it from organizational leads who are trying to push them to, we just mentioned, the next level in regards to elite or travel. They get it from the parents sometimes who are hoping that my kid is going to be good enough to get a scholarship. Or a lot of times,
so many scholarships for other things other than sports.
There's
It's
a
so interesting.
ton of scholarships for
that
so many things.
people focus all of their energy on the scholarship for sport. And there's just such a wide variety of scholarships out there for all different kinds of things.
Okay, so now here we are. We're talking about a young person getting a little tired, and then we have this 1-minute conversation just now, and we're really talking about the adults, right? We're talking about the adults pushing these things at such an early age, right? So we want.
Well, what we found is, unfortunately, youth sports isn't the carrot anymore. The college scholarship is a carrot for youth sports, and we're not fostering fun.
Yeah, they're missing. They're
Like,
missing.
so the thing is, youth sports was supposed to be the carrot for academics. That was always supposed to be the case. Like,
Right.
if you do really good, if your grades are high enough, you get to
You
play.
can play.
That was the thought process. But now it's youth sports is not the carrot. There's something else that's a carrot. So you got to work really hard in the sport. And it takes all the fun out. That's where you start seeing the burnout of where is the fun? Am I allowed to lose from both parents and from coaches? Like a lot of our conversation is trying to change how coaches view their experience as a coach so they can come back.
What does that mean to coach?
What does
What's
it
your
mean to be a
purpose
10-0
here?
coach? Is that wins and losses, or is that you have a roster of 10 kids that came back the next year? You never. These are the conversations we're constantly having. You never want to be a athlete's last coach, because that says so much about you.
Right.
Wow.
Because an athlete never chooses to stop playing sports because of a loss.
Right.
They stop playing sports because of a coach.
Yeah. An experience.
Coach, other adults, these undue pressures, right? So I guess being a little straightforward, we need to back these adults off a little bit and help them understand the spirit and the true intent of sport, as you say. I love that 10-0 analogy, by the way. That
I've
makes
got a 4-year-old who yesterday in the car, she goes to hip hop class in soccer sometimes. She told me, she said, it was a good dance class today, Mom, but everyone was really tired after warm up, so we played Duck, Duck, Goose. And I said, great. That's awesome.
Yes.
Did you have fun? And she said, we had so much fun. It's great.
That
You
is
know,
awesome.
it's
Yeah, right.
what it is. They're 4.
That's a dream report.
Yeah, it's great. And like that's what it should be like. That's what it is. It's sport, and this happened all the time in soccer too, because they're 3.5 and 4 years old. It's like, oh, let's just run around and have fun and kick the ball, and we'll teach you some stuff, and then you guys can just play.
They often.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, it certainly is what it should be. And the youth sport organizations, starting at the top, and this idea of coaching education. We have these zero tolerance rules or a list of expectations. I don't know that it's as uniform as it might be, throughout youth sport organizations. You're right, Daisha, because some of the philosophies of the leaders of these organizations, they vary. And as you
probably change a lot.
They change a lot, and again, their perception of what they're supposed to be doing as a leader in youth sport organization. Again, getting back to the message. What is the message? Well, the message is certainly do everything you can to understand the sport, to teach the fundamentals of that sport, to teach the idea of teamwork, which, again, as you say, is so very important in all walks of life and all of our life, And that is success in and of itself. That is winning. We don't. This idea, some people, keep talking about. Well, let's get away from everybody gets a trophy. Well, when we're talking about fostering the spirit of play, we're not talking about everybody getting a trophy. We're talking about everybody enjoying the experience. We're talking about everybody understanding that there are fundamentals, there are basics of being athletic, not just being a soccer player or a basketball player or et cetera. There's specific sports are what they are, and certainly there are fundamentals there. But even again, going back to elementary physical education, and where is that in the schools, and how can the school personnel, and this is where we are trying to link the school personnel from athletic directors to physical education directors to community organizations, to the various agencies, the various, again, YSOs, youth sport organizations that are there. Let's get everybody in the room so we can at least agree on a common practice for what youth sports intent, the true intent, and I know we can't make it law, although sometimes you wish you could, right? There's there's a part of me I know through the years that used to witness some things that weren't so desirable for the young people, and you'd walk away and say, boy, that's just too bad that they're having that kind of interaction, for example. But after a while, I can tell you that I respectfully took the time to try to send a message, try to speak to that coach and just say, hey, no, it's not my business, but protecting our children is all of our business. So we want to be those people that we're collaborative, we're working together, but these efforts that are being made, again, by your organization, Daisha, by our organization, and many other organizations, if we can, again, I would hope that we can get more people in the room to utilize the resources that are being made available.
Yeah, I think mentorship is going to become such a huge piece of coaching, because even just sitting down with somebody who's a brand new coach in a sport that you're familiar with, and it's so overwhelming not understanding how to do a practice plan, and again, those things aren't the most important, but for a lot of coaches, that's where the nervousness is. It's not, of course they're going to care about the kids. Of course they're going to love it, right? That's why you're doing it. But they also want to make sure that they're doing enough for the kids. And so showing them that enough doesn't mean that you have to be like an Olympic swimmer and teaching, that's not what it is. Like what they need from you is, these are the expectations, not this.
Yeah, some basic structure.
Sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and so Daisha, do you encourage expectations from coaches from the outset at the youth level with parents and with athletes at all? Do you guys talk about that? Like before a season begins, let's sit down and talk about these are, our values as coaches, and this is what we're really going to push this year.
I think it really, something Rich mentioned, it really comes from the top down.
Yeah.
It has to be an organization's values. It has to be pervasive through all the teams, because it might be that you sit down and you say, these are my values, and the parent says, I'm going to move over to that team then.
Right.
But if it's the values across the entire organization, then it's a unified front. Also, if that's the values across the entire organization, our games are different, because I'm playing against a coach who values the exact same things as I do. And when we play, we're supporting each other.
Right.
When I was coaching girls basketball, ages 8 to 11, it was a stressful experience.
What was the most stressful? Was it the practice plan?
The practice plan was fun. I really just wanted to have fun. So we would spend at least half the game doing nothing basketball related. So it would be like, let's skip for 30 minutes and get a really good skip. And after 30 minutes, I'm going to show you what a
indoor
layup
hockey
is. So then we wouldn't even touch the basketball until the end of the game. They're like, or to the end of practice. And they're like, oh, that's why you made us skip for 30 minutes straight and backwards and forwards. And or we would play freeze tag and learn how to pass the ball more often.
Yeah.
Different things like that. But
Very cool.
I loved practices way more than games.
Yeah.
And I think the struggle was, I have 8-year-old girls who've never touched a basketball. And then I have 11-year-old girls who think they're going to go to AAU next month. So it was like trying to match these different skill levels. And then I had parents. I had a parent in my first practice came up to me and said, I play NBA 2K all the time. So if you need any help, I'm here.
Oh boy.
And he was there every practice. I had to figure out how to get him engaged in a good way. But originally it was, are you sure you want to do that with the girls? I think you should probably teach them how to press. I was like, they're 8 years old. Why would they ever
full
press?
court press this entire game?
Why would I do that?
It's not the most. This isn't even my sport. And I was
So it was just it was figuring out how to engage parents, how to keep them linked in in a way that they're my allies and champions. Because coming out of Cornerstone program, one of the terms is that your parents are your post-game coaches. So if you don't get
first
them
voice they hear
to maintain whatever it is that you're saying on the field, on the court, on the rink, if you don't get them, it's going to be eliminated as soon as they walk away from you. And you'll have to reteach it every practice. But if you can get your post-game coach to coach the same values, to ask about resiliency, to ask about teamwork and leadership, then it completely changes the tenor when they come back. It completely changes when you open up the practice and you say, hey, so how'd you talk to your family? Well, they said this. My daughter plays JV this year, and one of the first things I said to her, they had a dismal season. Okay.
But searching for that right word, and the right word was dismal.
About halfway through the season, she got in the car after one of the games, and I said, that was your best loss yet. And she was like, what type of remark is that? I was like, but it was.
Yeah.
Did you see how much you guys smiled today? You were down by 15 and no one got an attitude with each other. Yeah. That's improvement.
That is amazing.
Yeah. It's 10 girls.
Right.
All adolescent.
Right.
No one got an attitude. Yeah. It was a really good loss, girls.
Great job.
So that's a different conversation than coming down and saying, you should have done more rebounds.
Yep.
Right.
You could have done better this way. And that makes it harder for the coach.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Figuring out how to get better post-game coaches and not seeing parents as the adversary, the one you need to coach against, trying to figure out how to pull them in. I think that is something that when I talk to new coaches is they're not your enemy.
Yes.
They're your ally in waiting. Just figure out how to get them in. What is their carrot?
And I mean, what is coaching? Coaching is really managing relationships all around, right? Can you talk a little bit about the Cornerstone program?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Cornerstone program, I'm really excited about. It's launching next month. Birthed out of our coaches training working group. So all the conversations we're having here are the exact same conversations we've had in a working group of talking about what the youth sports experience is and what our coaches developing in their practices and in their game settings. And out of that, we really started looking at training. All the coaches adequately trained. And we originally got a lot of pushback because we had a lot of different sports who said, we are fully trained. We have all of the training available. We don't need you to create another thing for our coaches to have to do before they can get to the game. So, of course, our terms started to change and we started looking at what is it that we can bring to the table to assist. And so Cornerstone program is literally created to complement existing sports training. It is only providing socio-emotional learning, the terms and the skills in order to equip our coaches to come into practice with the right language.
Right.
So it really focuses on the values and the lifelong value of youth sports and how do we make sure that there is a consistent reinforcement of that on a practice by practice basis. So the Cornerstone program is built out into, right now we have 10 modules. So over the course of a 10-week season, every week there's something that is a theme and it's on multiple levels. So there's the organization, there's the coaches, and there's our post-game coaches. That's great. They all have access to the exact same curriculum. So there's the huddle up conversation. For instance, we'll have a video. I'm not going to name any athletes, but let's say we had a video from Blair talking about your experiences with teamwork. So the coach gets to talk about it. There's a video that the kids get to watch. When they come home, the parents got to watch the exact same video, and now we have a dinner table conversation. And we provide the questions. The idea is let's equip you because we know in your heart of hearts, you want to be supportive.
Yeah.
Right.
In your heart of hearts, you want
That's
to do
the
this.
true intent, right?
We
You
know
think you're
that you don't
helping.
actually wake up in the morning and
Yeah.
say, how do I tear my child down? How do
Right.
I tear this team down? I want to just ruin their self-image. No one is waking up and thinking that,
Right.
but we want to equip you with the language. So that is the idea behind Cornerstone, is very quick, short trainings, trying to make it as easy as possible. You can pull it up on your phone. You can pull it up on your computer. You can watch it in the car before the practice.
Right.
And then you walk in with language in order to reinforce the life value of youth sports.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Great.
That's a wonderful concept. Congratulations, and that is going to be so helpful. You're again accentuating the positive. You're acknowledging the efforts already of the youth sport organization, and you're asking to just build on their success, which is really important in this relationship building. Boy, that's and like you say, the brief encounters, building the vocabulary so we can all speak the same language. But that's exciting, and that's in a month or so.
At the end of next month, we'll be launching officially. Very excited
Incredible.
about this. We've been building this for over a year now.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. We want to make sure we promote that.
Test it out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And promote it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you talked earlier about gender a little bit, female coaches versus male, and we talk a lot about women coaching women versus men coaching women, etc. Again, the assumption is we are all in it for the same reasons. I like what you said. Like, no one wakes up to try, to offset the experience, and these resources are so very helpful. What are your thoughts related to how we can promote and engage more women coaches?
So that's a personal passion of mine. Thank you, Rich, for teeing that up.
It's so important.
But I definitely feel like there's a need both in women's sports and in men's sports to see more women coaches, not just in women's sports. I think that's the initial thought process, is more girls need to see women as leaders, and that's absolutely true. But more boys need to recognize that women can be leaders at the same time. So there's a need for more women coaches across youth sports for two reasons. One, because that typically is the where the feeder system for all of the other coaches are coming out of. So typically, like, the youth sport coaches end up at some point moving up, and that's how you build up with the elite sports or with the college sports. So the more we find with youth sports, we're going to affect the landscape of sports in general.
Yep.
But specifically, my focus is always looking at who are already in the stands. You've already made the commitment. Like, the first hurdle of coaching is the schedule.
Is being there.
It's just
Yeah.
making
Showing
sure
up.
it works in your schedule. So if you are literally doing pickup and drop off every single time, sitting in the stands for all the games,
You're
you
going on
already
our
marked
list.
it out. Like, oh yeah, you're a coach next season. Because
That's a
you've
good
already
point.
marked it out in your calendar. Now all I need to do is give you the language because you're
Right.
here. You've seen the game. You kind of have an idea.
Yep.
Right.
You might not know what the difference is between, like, a touchdown and a field goal, but we can give you that
Right.
information.
Yeah, we can
Right.
get you there.
We can get that to you. And one of the things Blair said was coach mentors. We can bring you in as a junior coach
Yep.
because I know that you're here. I can give you the language and make sure that you're focused on maintaining the values of our team. And I can help with the sports skills until you are more comfortable with it. And then next season, I'll hand it off to you.
Right.
And let you take
Exactly.
the lead. But I think the idea of coach mentors will really give a lot more room to the build out of more women coaches, because the issue is confidence. They don't have the confidence to walk onto the court. Like I said,
Use their own
I was
voice.
challenged in my very first practice
Yeah.
with someone who had never played the game and just played a video game
Right.
because I was a woman, to be honest.
Right.
Most times parents would walk past me and try and find where the coach is, and they would walk right past me looking for the coach. I have the whistle, I have the clipboard, I
Yeah,
have
like,
the game ball.
Hello.
This
Yeah.
sweatshirt that said coach, and people would still ask where
Wow.
the coach is.
So,
right?
like, understanding
happens.
that unfortunately there's a stigma that we're trying to push past, and we have to build a level of confidence in the women that are around the sport in order for them to feel like they can be comfortable in the sport.
Yes.
Awesome. That's so well said.
I was really fortunate in the MAC. I think we were half female, half male, which was surprising.
Yeah, that's not common.
Not common. And it was my first year ever coaching. I was the coach at UB.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt so overwhelmed with things I just didn't know. And I remember people reaching out, what do you need? How are, things, you guys are doing great. It's okay. Like, you're going to lose some games in the beginning. If you're building your program, that's what's important. And just those conversations, even though we played against these teams, that's the important thing.
Well, and I was
huge.
thinking about you, Coach Blair, and even take it back a little further in your playing days.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at Penn State, you had a male coach, but
Mm-hmm.
were there women assistants?
Yes.
What was your experience related to men, women coaches?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about language, and the language was the same from all of our coaches always. And I think that's really what we took from that, was that our coaching staff is a team within itself. And whatever language is coming out, we're all on the same page. Our team knows that we're all on the same page with them as well. So I never really thought about gender considerations at the time, and it wasn't until I started coaching that I really started thinking about it, because this past year, I think there were 4 female coaches in the Elite 8 for the first time in women's volleyball. And
Wow.
that has not happened. And everybody, they just took one picture together, the 4 female coaches, just like up in the stands.
Right.
And everybody, it went viral, like within the volleyball community. Like, this is so awesome. Our girls need to see this, And it is true, but I also like what you're saying about female coaches in male sports.
Yeah,
because
I like that.
that is, you just need to see more female coaches, period.
Yeah,
That's
young boys have to understand that, have to appreciate that,
Exactly.
because it's
and
real.
respect that,
that's
that
right.
they are your coach.
That is a great point.
Period. It has nothing to do with whether or not they're a female or male.
Well, we have a few minutes left, and I want to ask you both maybe to send a message to the young person who's hesitant. Maybe the parents haven't had the sport experience themselves. You want to we want to draw everyone in to participate because of these wonderful benefits we all know that are there in sport participation. So, what do you say? What do you say to the young people to say, of course, give it a try. It's okay.
Yeah. For me, it's just play. Like, just go have fun. Just play. Play a million different sports. Play everything that you possibly can to find what it is. Because you're not going to know. Like, everybody thought I would play basketball because I'm so tall. And basketball is not my sport. I mean, running is not my thing. But it just wasn't my sport,
Right.
I just didn't feel like this was what was right for me. And it wasn't until I tried volleyball that I was like, oh, this is really where I feel at home. And I think that's what it can give you. You talked a little bit about this body image, 6'3", 110 pounds. I don't know. It was like not a good situation. But in volleyball and on the volleyball team, I felt not only normal, but I felt like it was useful. And like I could use this height for something good.
Yeah, that
And
was
so
a great point.
that really resonated with me. That's something that's like it's not only that you're finding, a sport to love, it's that you're finding like another family within that, another support system, another, something that will carry you throughout your life.
Yeah, that's a wonderful message, Coach. How about you, Daisha?
Same thing, fostering fun. I don't think any of my most vivid memories of sports at a young age have anything to do with a score. I have memories of like my teammates daring me to do the Tootsie Roll, like in the middle of the game, and me doing it. And like just those memories. I have memories of all of the quirky moments or the bus ride to the game.
Yes.
Can't tell you if we won that tournament, but I know the fun. We had a lot of fun on the way back home.
Yep.
Or the root beer floats or the ice cream socials. Like I remember all of the things that were around sports.
Yep.
That made it just the thing that I always wanted to come back to next season. I could care less about the wins at, I'm not going to say my age, but at this age, It doesn't really matter. It really was just about being participating and joining in, getting a good sweat in. Not everyone wants to do that, but just feeling like I'm a part of a team and I brought something to the table and everyone's thankful that I'm here today.
Right.
Like that feeling that you come and everyone's like, hey, you don't get that everywhere, but you're able to get that in your chosen team, your chosen family.
Right.
So sports is so much more than the wins. I think that's what I would tell any youth. It's really about the experience.
No question about it. And Coach, you mentioned that like play a million, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is the game itself that you fall in love with.
Yeah.
You know,
it
is the social, the experience, the friends. I do remember like putting that uniform on and saying, "Wow, I have a uniform. I have a hat and everything." I remember that awesome experience. I remember, how many gumballs can you get in your mouth at one time? And we have competitions like that, after practice. And
my dad used to bring me in. He coached Little League for like 35 plus years.
Awesome.
And he used to bring me in at their first day where he would give them their jerseys and their hats just to watch because he's like, Blair, watch this. They're so excited.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was always 10 and under was his group. And they were just like, oh, I got a jersey. I got my hat. I'm on the team.
Well,
it was the best. It was just like the joy was so real.
It is. And full disclosure, and I'm not going to say my age either, but and now when we order, if we order 15 practice gear, and we have 2 coaches, I say order 17 because I want a practice gear too.
Right.
So that has never left. That has never left that joy.
That fresh hat is always the best.
Right?
Oh my gosh, it's true. It's true. I've told this story before, but I want to say it. I'll tell it again. So, having the privilege of coaching our children, we have one son, one daughter, in Little League, and it was opening day parade for the Little League, and home getting the uniforms on, and the boys T-ball had the embroidered hat. The girls had a foam visor. So my daughter at 6, Daisha, looked at me and basically said, "What's up with this?" So I think it maybe cost about $150, but I ended up buying embroidered hats for the girls' team because she ordered me to. Yeah.
She ordered me.
It was great and right on point.
Yeah.
Well, this is a great conversation. We can go all day, but Daisha Clark from the Community Foundation. Again, thank you so much for you and your team and all the work that you do. We welcome anything that we can do to support your programming. Looking forward to the Cornerstone program. Congratulations on that. And again, thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to join and happy that we have an ally and champion here at Madai.
It's wonderful. We're happy to be here. Coach Blair, thank you. Western New York coaches, Chalk Talk, signing off.